So we're going to talk about the environment model of evaluation. Let me remind you about the substitution model. What do we do when we see a procedure call? First step, recursively call eval to evaluate all the sub-expressions. The first one tells you what procedure we're calling, and the other ones tell you what the arguments are, right? So we always deal with actual argument values when we call the procedure, not actual argument expressions, because we've evaluated them. So that's what makes scheme an applicative order language. And that's still true in the environment model. Second step, apply the procedure to the argument list. Still true. The difference comes in what apply does. In the substitution model, so here's step 2a, it says substitute arguments for parameters in the body. Right? So we take the body of the procedure, which is an expression or a bunch of expressions, and we turn that into a new version of the body in which all the formal parameters have been replaced with values. So now we don't have any variables for the formal parameters anymore. And then eval the modified body. Okay? So that's the substitution model. Everybody clear about this? Questions? This you've known forever, since week 1. Okay, here's the difference. 2a. Make an environment with the parameters bound to the arguments. Bound to means like pointing to, having that value. Okay, so we make this new kind of thing called an environment, and then 2b says eval the body. Not some different version of the body, but just the body in the new environment. So what is eval in all about? Well, substitution model, we say eval an expression. In the environment model, we say eval an expression in an environment. Okay, so in the real scheme interpreter, eval takes 2 arguments, not just 1. And the second argument is an environment in which all the variables have values. Okay? And we look up variables in the environment to find out what the value is, and we also look them up in order to change the value if you do a set bang. Okay. So that means, for example, that we have to change the read eval print loop so that when you type in an expression, it says eval read, right? Call to read. So this is the expression that you typed in. And in the substitution model, there'd just be a closed parenthesis here, but instead we have the global environment. This is not a variable that users of scheme see. This is a variable in the scheme implementation itself. So if you read the code for the Chapter 4 scheme evaluator, which comes up in a month, it looks like this. So there's a variable called the global env. But we're going to add to that, and here's the other crucial point. Because when we make a new environment, there's two steps. One step is to make a box, which is called a frame, in which we have something like result equals 0. So that's a frame. And this frame has a pointer to some existing environment, like, let's say, the global environment. Okay? Does that picture start to look like that picture a little bit? Okay, Wednesday and Friday, you're going to see how this model, which is really very simple, fits on a page, gives us that picture in effect.